it's Liv, welcome back to my channel Endless Pages. Today's video is an unhaul video. I've never filmed one of these before. When it comes to books, I'm a bit of a hoarder, if you can't tell. Even if I don't like books, I just tend to keep them, but I think enough is enough. It's time to get rid of these books. Some of these books I've read and didn't like, and that's why I'm donating them / getting rid of them. And some of them are just books that I'm never gonna read. First up to go is Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Byron. This one's really sad, just purely because the cover of this book is absolutely stunning. I read this book, I can't remember what I rated it, maybe 3 stars. I did not enjoy this book, which was really sad. I was really hyped and I was really looking forward to it. It's a Cinderella retelling, and our main character lives in this world where it's been 200 years since Cinderella found the prince, and every year there's kind of this ball where the girls are kind of, I don't know, paraded around and chosen off to be married. But our main character doesn't want to get married, and she's really afraid that the girl she loves is going to get chosen and married off to some guy. Basically, she doesn't agree with this whole ball thing and marrying off thing. She wants to change how the society works, and that is the basic premise of this book. I thought this book had so much potential. Like, I loved the sound of the plot. It sounded right up my alley. Yeah, I was just super disappointed by it, and I was like, well, that wasn't super interesting to read because everything worked out happy, and where was the challenge? Like, where was the character growth? I don't know. I just was really disappointed by this read. I'm never going to pick it up again because I didn't enjoy it, and I'm really sad to see it go because the cover again is 10 out of 10. That's the thing I love the most about this book, is the cover, to be honest. But it's just sitting there, not going to be read again. I didn't enjoy it, so it's gotta go. Next up are really popular books. That is Serpent and Dove and its sequel Blood and Honey. So I didn't like this book at all. I feel like that's really controversial. I thought it was cringy. But I hated I don't know how I finished this book. I probably should have DNF'd it. I hated it. I thought it was super cringy. I didn't find the like enemies to lovers. I thought it was weird and creepy, and I get what they were trying to do with kind of like Nina and Matthias from Six of Crows, but it was like a poor man's version of that, and I found the main character super annoying. I thought this book had so much potential, and that's why I bought the sequel Blood and Honey, but I just think I'm too scarred, and I don't know why I bought this. I honestly don't. I was like, okay, I could kind of see where it's going in the sequel, like how it ended. Maybe it'll improve, but I haven't thought about it since. I don't think personally I want to give it another chance. There was characters in this book as well that I thought had so much potential to be interesting. A lot of side characters that weren't given any thought, any development, nothing. They were just kind of there. Don't get me wrong, I love the plot of someone being able to look beyond their biases and learn and have someone else help them overcome their biases. I really like that trope. I think it's a nice message and it's inspiring and nice to read. I just don't think it was done super well in this book. Don't get me wrong, I do love the trope of like forced proximity, and that's what this is. I just don't think it was done in a way that I like it, and I just wasn't a fan of the whole arranged marriage kind of trope. That really wasn't for me. Reed is an awful person, and he's really awful to her, and she's annoying, so I really didn't enjoy this book. Another book with a really interesting sounding plot that just really fell flat for me. I don't know why I bought Blood and Honey to give it a second chance. I never will, so goodbye Serpent and Dove. Speaking of cringy, The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. The plot really intrigued me in this book again. It's about a girl and she wants to win over the king, a guy called the Shadow King, and marry him and then kill him, take control of the throne for herself. That sounds really cool, right? And then I think there's a lot of other assassins trying to take the king out because he has this crazy power of like shadows, and then she has to keep him alive long enough so she can marry him and then kill him when she's, you know, got the throne. So I was like, cool, what a girl boss, love it. That sounds really cool. It's cringy. I couldn't get past 100 pages. I was like actually cringing. I was like rolling my eyes. I was like, this is rough. It was rough reading. I hated it. I hated every second of it and DNF'd it so quickly, and it's been sitting in a bag in my cupboard ever since. So goodbye this book. Good riddance. Next to go is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is a book I have read in full. I did enjoy it. It's basically like this video game contest that gets announced and our main character is competing in it, but it turns out there's a bit more at stake than they thought. I really liked the idea of this. I think it is a good book. I just don't think I was the target audience for it. There was lots of, I don't really play video games, there was lots of, other than like The Sims and Animal Crossing, if you would count that. But I just think there's a lot of references and things that just went straight over my head, and somebody that is big into gaming and that kind of world would really appreciate it, but maybe I'm just uncultured and didn't appreciate it. So that's why I'm getting rid of this one. I'm never gonna reread it. It was a good book, just, again, not for me. The next book is Lost in the Netherwoods by Aidan Thomas. So this is a book that I have read and I hated every second of it. I would have DNF'd it, but I was already like more than 3/4 of the way through, and I was like, may as well just see how this ends. Maybe the ending could improve it, but no. So basically this is a Peter Pan retelling, and we follow our main character Wendy, and when Wendy was younger, her and her 2 younger brothers went into the woods. Wendy came back with no memory of what happened, and her brothers never came back. We jump to a bit later in Wendy's life, and boys in her town have started to go missing again. And Wendy's driving along a road one night and she sees this like boy lying in the middle of the road, and she almost hits him with her car. Turns out the boy is Peter, and he asks for Wendy's help to try and find these missing boys. I found this book so boring. The reason I didn't like it is you basically just follow Wendy around in her day-to-day life. Like, she volunteers at the hospital, so you just like, that's all that happens in this book, and they don't actually do anything plot-wise until the last, like, I can't remember, it was a while ago I read it, but the last little bit of the book. And that's so anticlimactic and boring and like, you know, very predictable ending. But this book was so boring. Like, nothing happens. Wendy gets ice cream, Wendy goes volunteers at the hospital, Wendy talks to her parents. I was like, where is the plot? You've got such an interesting premise and retelling such an interesting story, and it's so boring. And don't get me started on Peter. Peter's character is obviously a boy, but in his mind he's obviously older and like a teenager-y, but you know, his physical appearance and some of his characteristics are very childish. So the fact that there's kind of like a romance between Wendy and Peter comes off really creepy to me because of how childish he acts and the way he looks. Obviously intellectually and age-wise he is older, but it still comes off a little creepy in that regard, because you're reading like, sounds like you're reading about like a boy and a teenager, so it feels a little creepy. I didn't like that at all. Peter's character didn't come off as that whimsical fun character. It was just annoying. Wendy was annoying. This whole book was annoying. Tell me where the plot is. There's no plot in this book. I hated every second of it, and I am glad to be getting rid of it. Then we have The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is a sequel to the very well-known book The Handmaid's Tale, which I have read. I read it a couple of years ago. I thought the plot was so intriguing and so interesting, and really cool commentary on female rights and religion. Really, really interesting plot, but the book is super slow and you're more... I don't think it's meant to be a book that's like an exciting plot. It's more about the commentary it's making, so that meant the pacing was slow, super slow. Nothing really happens, but it makes sense within the book that nothing happens. That makes sense, and the way it ended makes sense, but it just makes for a very slow and heavy read. So this, she published this a couple of years ago, the sequel. And I picked it up because I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'll enjoy it more because it's the same kind of plot, but maybe, you know, because of the direction the TV show went, maybe it'll be a bit more fast-paced and we'll start to see maybe a kind of a reflection of what happened in the TV show plot-wise. I'm not sure if that actually happens. I'm sure she wouldn't have just, you know, I'm sure she would have had her own ideas about how she wanted the book to go and wouldn't write how the TV show goes. But I haven't thought about it since I bought it, and I don't think I'm ever going to read it. I think for my enjoyment, I would just leave it how I left it with the end of the first book. And if I wanted to like find out what happens, I think I would honestly prefer to watch the TV show. The TV show, I started watching it, it's really good, and like I've seen trailers for the newer seasons and it looks fantastic, and I think I would honestly just rather watch that than read this book, because I don't want to read this and be disappointed and kind of ruin the first book for myself. So I'm thinking the TV show. Does anyone watch the TV show? Let me know. Should I watch the TV show? But I'm definitely not going to read this book, so hence why I'm unhauling it. Then we have the first book in the All Souls trilogy, A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is a fantasy series, and we follow our main character Diana, and Diana is studying one day in the library, and she discovers this kind of hidden book, a manuscript which holds the secrets of their past and the key to the future of demons, witches and vampires, and she kind of gets pulled into the world when she's the one that can call upon the manuscript, and a lot of people want this manuscript. I started reading this book, and at the start, I just don't know if I maybe didn't give it enough of a shot. At the start it's very dry, and it's very much about Diana at the uni and just her life, so maybe I didn't wait until the plot kicked in enough, but it really dissuaded me from picking it up again. I just wasn't enjoying it. I do watch the TV show. I'm not like completely up to date with it, but I watched the TV show first, and that's why I picked up this book. I was like, I want to see, like, you know, the differences and what the book's actually like, but I just didn't enjoy it, and I think I'd honestly just prefer to watch the TV show because it's a really good show. I love it. So hence why I'm getting rid of this book. The next three books are books that I've never read, don't know the plot about, but we're quickly going to discuss them. The first book I don't know the plot of is The Magpie Society. When I bought this, I didn't realise it was Zoe Sugg. I don't believe she actually writes her books anyway. They're ghost written, right? Tell me if I'm wrong, but surely not. And then another author, Amy McCulloch. I don't know the plot. Apparently a student is found dead on the beach. To new student Audrey, this school is a mystery. The students scuttle around the echoing halls like they're afraid of something. Her new roommate Ivy is acting strangely, and what's the school's weird obsession with magpies. To straight A star student Ivy, the school is home. In fact, Ivy has big plans for this year, and she doesn't need a roommate cluttering up her space, especially one who starts poking her nose in other people's business. And then the summer's tragic incident is to the foreground when a mysterious podcast airs, one with a sinister headline, I Know Who Killed Lola and One of You Is Next. Okay, so the plot sounds like something I would read, and maybe that's why I picked it up, the mystery and the podcast element. I just never heard a single soul talk about this book. I do know that there is a sequel out. I'm never going to read this, let's be honest. I don't think it's going to be a good book, and I don't think it's going to be a book I'm going to enjoy. It's been ignored for years, so it's gotta go. Speaking of books with birds, we have The Stormcrow by Kaylin Josephine. I don't know the plot of this either. I think it's this world where there's elemental crows, and then this empire invades, kills all the crows, rip, and then the terrible night has thrown Princess into a deep depression. Her sister is busy running the kingdom after their mother's death, but all she can do is think about everyone she has lost, including her dream of becoming a crow rider. Do they like ride on the actual... I'm just picturing her like sitting on top of a crow. Her sister is forced to agree to marry her off to this crown prince. And after stumbling upon a hidden crow egg, I'm sorry, the plot is actually making me laugh, that's so mean. In the rubble of a rookery, she and her sister devise a plan to hatch the egg in secret while joining forces with the other conquered kingdoms to ignite a rebellion. Yeah, no, not for me. The final book is the third book I know nothing about, and that is The Traitor's Game by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This is a book about a girl called Kestra, and she spent the last 3 years in exile. Her father is the second in command to this seemingly immortal king, and her father's position makes Kestra a valuable bargaining chip, so a group of rebels kidnap her. They plan to make her find this blade called the Olden Blade, and they believe it's the only weapon can kill the power-mad king. She's not the obedient captor they expected. One of the rebels, Simon, struggles to fulfill his orders as Kester attempts to follow their plans by force, cunning, or any means necessary. As motives shift and secrets emerge, both Simon and Kester will have to question what is and who it is they're fighting for. The plot is kind of interesting, but not interesting enough for me to want to like pop it onto a TBR. So I'm sorry, but goodbye. So there we have it. Those are the books I'm going to be unhauling. Hopefully these will go to a better home, someone that will actually appreciate them and not just put them under her bed and kind of forget about them. Let me know in the comments what are some books that you've unhauled recently. What are some books that are sitting on your shelf that you just know that you're never going to read and they're just taking up space. If you would like to see more from me, subscribe. That would be great. I aim to post at least one video a week, potentially more. And all of my social links are in the description if you'd like to follow me on Twitter and Goodreads, Instagram, all of that. That would be wonderful. I will see you in the next video. Bye! Still thinking about a little person just riding a crow. I don't know why, it makes me laugh. So good.